deputy head prefects, cricket captains, and student leaders from across the country. So we've had it 4 years in a row now, and the fourth one we just concluded was in Jaffna, hosted by Jaffna College. And many of the schools in the region got together who already have Sri Lanka United's chapters, and they organized it. We had 650 participants, volunteers, and teachers from all 25 districts, and the Sri Lankan diaspora as well, young Sri Lankan diaspora from the Sinhala and the Tamil community joining us. And it was interesting. What happens there is we kind of inspire the students to believe it's possible. You know, for the first time in their life, they're meeting people from 25 districts. So they're sleeping in a room with kids from 25 different districts. You know, a boy from Martha is sleeping next to a boy from Mulatif. And started realizing we have so much in common. We are part of this country. We have a journey together. And then hearing each other's pain and saying, I never saw this aspect of it. And so once they're inspired, they're saying that it is possible to live together. It is important that we live together. We want them to go inspire their community to do the same. So Future Leaders Conference is more like the heart of the movement. That's where the inspiration happens. That's where the initial discussions happen about understanding the other person's hurt, understanding where we need to go, where we are, what we inherited. Those sorts of questions are discussed, and it's just like a stepping stone to the journey after that.
And as a facilitator, you've been doing this for 4 years. How have you seen the responses from the people who probably done this and then later moved on into society and started working and so on?
Yeah, well, we have some amazing stories. One of it, a very recent story, is a student from Kagula Vidyalaya. He's a Sinhala Buddhist boy who's never met anybody outside his community all his life. His father was in the military, lost his hands in the war, and from the day he saw his father without his arms, you know, there was a lot of hatred in his heart against Tamils in general. In fact, he says, not just Tamils, any minority group in Sri Lanka, he said they all needed to go. This is my country, my father suffered because of these people, they all need to go. And so he comes to the conference with this sort of mindset, and he ends up being roomed with a student from Jaffna. And he was absolutely repulsed by the fact that we made him stay with a student that he didn't like, or a community that he didn't like. But the reality was, as he continued to see the connectivity and he saw the humanity of each other, and he realized how extreme his position was, he ends up going at the last day of the conference and says, I'm sorry, this is who I've been. And the other student actually tells him, in fact, that's who I've been too. I was very repulsed by who you are, but I see who you are really now for who you. And they begin this friendship. And this boy from Kagula Vidyalaya, who's one of our most eloquent speakers now, is one of the strongest voices to that Sinhala community of the importance of ethnic integration, the importance of equality and diversity and all that. And to see him lead the initiative. So about 10 schools in Kagol have started Sri Lankan chapters because of the leadership of this one student. And he's brought students from Mulativ, over 100 students from Mulativ, to come to Kagol. They hosted them, they took them around the community, they showed them and said, your culture is my culture is yours, and I want to share it with you. So to go from that extreme to this journey, and this is just one isolated story, but there are multiple situations like that. So that's where we focus on leaders. If you can inspire them young to do something beyond the parameters of their selfish ambition, they would do phenomenal things. And our country needs leaders who care.
Yeah, they're most definitely, and it becomes more effective because of this drastic change and the testimonies that come out of it. Now, I also understand that Sri Lanka United works very hard in order to keep this going. Now, it's not just a one-off thing that you do and come off, but also one of the main projects that you have is the school relations tour. And you just returned from it. I hear that it was quite a fun journey, and we have some of the pictures still on the screen for you as well. Yeah. So how was the experience from the school relations tour?
Yeah, school relations tour is definitely a highlight for anybody involved. It's because many people started talking about reconciliation after the war was over. It became like the phrase that everyone was using, but it's more than just an event. You just can't bring people together, make them to live together and say, hey, that's reconciliation. No, that's just the beginning of believing it's possible. And but after that, we need to build on it. We need to go to their communities, meet them where they're at, inspire them there as well. Because you could be inspired in a superficial setting, and you may even think very progressive thoughts in a superficial setting, but if you don't think the same thoughts in your community, it's void. It's not going to make a difference.
Okay.
So we get on a bus. We have very good sponsors who give us buses, and I don't think I can mention names of sponsors here because I worked here. I know you can't do that. But we get on this bus. We pick our top 25 head prefects and deputy head prefects who just finished A-levels, and they're having their gap time waiting for their results. We get them on the bus and we go together to every district, to all the schools that came. We speak at the assemblies, and then we go and we do workshops with the community. And so it is a lot of work in the sense of we're traveling all the time. So this time in 20 days we did 20 districts and spoke to 3,000 prefects in those districts, and these are some of the images of what we did. It's phenomenal to see a busload of 25 head prefects or student leaders representing all the ethnic and religious groups of the country.
And 20 districts, covering 20 districts in 20 days. As much as it's probably very tiring, as you can see on the pictures, probably was one of the most enjoyable times.
Yeah, this is actually we've been doing it for 4 years, but this the second year's time we're doing it all at once, where we're actually covering everything. It's a lot of fun. This country is absolutely beautiful, but more than that, the people are absolutely beautiful. The diversity in culture. One day in the morning we're in a Tamil school, the next in the afternoon we're in a Muslim school, and in the evening we're in a Sinhala Buddhist school, and we spend time. Then we bring all the schools together and we have these conversations. And it's interesting, like some districts as diverse as Ampara still live in segregated societies. The Muslim community has little to nothing to do with the Tamil community and the Sinhala community, vice versa. So it's amazing to see these things happen and see those connections being made, and almost like a light in the eyes of the kids all of a sudden saying, maybe I can make a difference here. My parents are not capable of doing this.
Exactly.
They're too stuck in the past to even think of moving forward together. But I can, so I can lead the way. There's a sense of purpose and a patriotic feeling that comes upon them, and not to mention us as well.
Now, talking about Sri Lanka Unites chapters, as you mentioned earlier, how does that function? Is it connected to the main Sri Lanka Unites body, and do your activities through them, or are you giving more independence to them to probably organize their own activities?
Exactly. The whole concept is if we inspire young leaders, then we need to empower them to lead efforts and contextualizing the efforts to their community. Now, we can't stay here in our community and assume we understand the other communities and how it should work. So what they do is they have to register as a chapter after the conference, and then they start activities. But just to help them along in the process, we have a syllabus that every student has to follow, and that's the mind of the movement, where you have intellectually you understand the importance of integration and reconciliation in the journey forward and youth leadership. And so they learn these concepts. So they learn it in those chapters. Apart from that, we also partner them with a school of a different ethnic group. So for example, Kagala Vidyalaya again is partnered with Vatrapalay Mulativ. We have Wesley College Colombo is partnered with Zaira College Kalmure. And then St. John's Jaffna is partnered with Malia Deva Kurunagala. And so that becomes their brother school, that becomes their sister school, and they have friendly matches together, they have cultural exchanges together, and most importantly, they do something for each other's communities together. A less privileged subsection of their community, they work together. And when you're working together, that's like the hands and feet of our movement. That's when they really start seeing, not only can we agree to be together, but we can work together and make a difference together. And they see the power of that. And that's very fascinating.
And I think that's one of the most important things this country needs. It's not just, living in harmony, but actually working towards the betterment of the country. Now, we'll have more about Sri Lanka Unites and the work they do as well, right after this short commercial break.